The court was a kaleidoscope of whirring drones and floating orbs, each one glinting with the harsh glow of 1,000 star lamps. The air hummed with the soft chatter of translating devices, each struggling to keep pace with the rapid-fire tongues of the galaxy's most distinguished blowhards. The princess sat on her throne, or what passed for a throne, a swirling lattice of plasma and alloy that looked suspiciously like a repurposed cargo drone. She perched there like an ornament, her skin shimmering like a drop of liquid opal, too delicate for the heavy armor her people wore. Her eyes, large and too bright for the chamber's glare, flicked from one suitor to the next as if she were watching a particularly dull documentary about migrating space barnacles. The suitors came, each bearing extravagant offerings, a bouquet of hypercarnivorous blooms from the jungles of Tarkin V, a ceremonial dagger carved from the bones of a dead son. One by one they approached her, recited their prepackaged lines with all the passion of a half-dead asteroid slug, and retreated in the same order. Too delicate, one muttered, nose wrinkled in disdain. Wouldn't last a day on the battlefield. Another waved a dismissive hand, as if shooing away a holographic fly. She'd shatter like a plasma bubble. The princess heard every word. She blinked and adjusted the sleeve of her ceremonial gown, an intricate mesh of stardust thread and hardened regret. Then he arrived. John Atwood, a human. Rumpled, unimpressive, the kind of man who probably forgot to brush his teeth before appearing at a royal court that spanned 10 star systems. He carried no ceremonial offering, just a half-eaten protein bar that might have been older than the galaxy itself. He swaggered forward, his boots squeaking in a way that made even the throne's internal servos cringe. The princess's eyes widened. Was he whistling? "Hey there, princess," he said, voice cracking like a cheap amplifier. "Name's John. I come in peace, most of the time, but I brought a snack if you're interested." He waved the protein bar like a peace offering, and the princess, against her better judgment, laughed. A small, tinkling laugh that escaped before she could catch it, like a glitch in her usually flawless protocol. The court fell silent, each elder's exosuit whirring in shock. A human addressing the princess without the requisite 47 bows and 6 kneelings? Outrageous. Her uncle's vocal modulator clicked in disapproval, a high-pitched whine that made John wince. "Human," the uncle intoned, voice dripping with all the warmth of a dying star. "You defile our traditions." John shrugged, unbothered. "Hey, I'm just here to see if she likes chocolate ice cream." The princess's laughter turned into a bright snort. The court's tension cracked like a solar flare, and somewhere deep within the princess's chest, something that had been frozen for far too long began to melt. John stepped closer, his grin lopsided. "I think you're the most interesting person I've met all day," he said, "and I met a talking fungus on the way in. He tried to sell me insurance." The princess clapped a hand over her mouth, her shoulders shaking with suppressed giggles. John's grin widened. "So, what do you say, princess?" "Want to blow this joint and maybe—" He paused, glancing around at the dozens of scandalized faces. "Maybe talk about Earth movies or something? I promise not to mention any more insurance salesmen."
John's grin felt like a rusty hinge as he plopped down on the edge of the princess's drone throne, which let out an offended whir before adjusting its plasma lattice to accommodate his less than regal presence. "So, princess," he began, offering her the protein bar like a sacred relic. "What's a galactic heir like you doing in a place like this?" She blinked at him, eyes wide as twin novas, then reached for the bar as though it might disappear. He watched her unwrap it with the delicate care of someone disarming a nuclear device. "I've never had one of these," she said softly. "It smells odd." John leaned back, his boots scraping the floor's gleaming surface, and let out a laugh that bounced off the metallic walls. "That's the smell of questionable Earth cuisine," he replied, "a delicacy on some mining colonies. If it glows in the dark, you're supposed to share it with your worst enemy. Builds trust." She nibbled at the bar, her expression a mix of suspicion and wonder. "It's dry," she concluded, "like a sun-baked desert." John's grin turned conspiratorial. Yeah, we humans love torturing ourselves with bad food. Makes us feel alive. Her laughter, soft and melodic, drew scandalized looks from a passing elder whose exosuit blinked in indignation. John waved at the elder like he was greeting an old friend. Hey, Uncle Tin Can! Nice day for a royal meltdown, huh? The elder's vocalizer sputtered, releasing a high-pitched squeal that set off a chain reaction of alarms from nearby translation devices. A pair of servitors skittered by on spindly legs, looking like metallic grasshoppers on a caffeine high, muttering something about protocol violations and interspecies decency. John turned back to the princess, eyes gleaming with mischief. You know, I've met a lot of stuck-up royals in my time, but you're different. You actually laugh. Most of them would rather self-destruct than smile. She studied him with that unsettling, bright-eyed gaze. I'm not supposed to laugh, she confessed. It makes me look fragile. John snorted. Fragile? Princess, I once saw a guy try to land a shuttle on a neutron star. Now, that's fragile. She giggled again, this time covering her mouth with both hands. You're different. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me today, John replied, bowing with an exaggerated flourish that made the throne creak in protest. A drone buzzed by, scanning John's shoes with a suspicious whine. He kicked it lightly. Hey, buddy, if you're looking for something to confiscate, I've got a rusty spanner and a half-eaten sandwich in my pocket. The drone whirred away, muttering what might have been an insult in binary. John turned back to her. So, Princess, what's the real deal? Why is everyone treating you like a glass sculpture? She hesitated, as if choosing the right words was harder than piloting a star cruiser through a black hole. Because, she began, voice a whisper that barely survived the court's mechanical hum, they're afraid I'll break. John's smile softened. Maybe they just don't know how strong you are, he said. I mean, you just survived Earth's worst protein bar. That's a feat of cosmic endurance. She laughed, the sound bubbling up like a nebula in bloom. Around them, the court's chatter resumed, though the elders' glares still stabbed at John like photon spears. He paid them no mind. Tell you what, he said, leaning in, voice low. How about we show them what you're really made of? I'm talking no more fancy protocol, no more stuck-up courtiers, just you, me, and maybe a karaoke machine. I promise not to sing Baby Shark. She blinked, then cracked a smile so bright it made the plasma throne flicker. Deal, she whispered, and for the first time in a long time, John felt like he'd just struck gold in the cold vacuum of space.
John found himself in the middle of a trial chamber that looked like a cross between a zero-gravity training arena and a salvage yard. The walls pulsed with shifting holograms that projected scenes of ancient wars, heroic duels, and, oddly enough, a cooking show starring a seven-armed cephalopod chef named Glorbo. A mechanical voice echoed through the chamber, dripping with self-importance. Human John Atwood, you have chosen to challenge the sacred traditions of the Starborn Court. Prepare for the trial of suitability. John squinted at the holograms. Is that guy making a space omelet? Because I'd totally pay for that recipe. The princess stifled a laugh from her seat behind a translucent force field. Her fingers twitched like she wanted to high-five him, but the force field probably had a no-high-five clause. The elders emerged from hidden compartments like angry cockroaches, each one wrapped in ceremonial exosuits that hummed with unnecessary complexity. One of them, whose suit sprouted a mini-throne and two extra arms for emphasis, gestured dramatically. The human must pass 3 tests to prove his worth, the elder boomed. Strength, wit, and appreciation of our culture. John raised an eyebrow. You're kidding. Appreciation of culture? Do I have to recite your star poems while standing on one foot? The elder's suit made a noise like a deflating hyperballoon. No, it said, voice dripping with disdain. You must engage with the sacred puzzle of Astaroth. John turned to the princess. Is that like a cosmic Rubik's Cube, or more of a cross between a Sudoku and a time bomb? She grinned. Good luck, she whispered. No one solved it in 100 cycles. John cracked his knuckles. Great, no pressure. A servitor drone scuttled over, carrying a cube that pulsed with eerie, shifting lights. John took it. turning it this way and that, half expecting it to bite him. You know, where I come from, we'd call this a kid's toy, he muttered. The cube responded by projecting a small, holographic dragon that blew a raspberry at him before vanishing. Well, at least it's got personality, John said, grinning. The elders glared at him, their suits emitting indignant beeps. He poked the cube, twisted one side, and suddenly the whole thing unfolded into a delicate mechanical flower. Hey, look at that, he exclaimed. I must have hit the impress the crowd button. The princess clapped her hands together, laughter like a burst of stardust. No one's ever made it bloom before, she said, eyes shining. The elder with the extra arms sputtered. Impossible! The puzzle was designed to test the wisdom of 1,000 scholars. John leaned back on his heels, arms crossed. Well, maybe you should have tried offering it a compliment first. These things just need a little positive reinforcement. A servitor zipped by, squealing in binary. John gave it a thumbs up. Don't worry, buddy. I'll sign your star helmet later. The elders' exosuits creaked with the weight of their collective disbelief. Strength, one of them hissed. Now you must prove your strength. John sighed dramatically. Look, I'm strong enough to carry the galaxy's worst protein bar without fainting. That counts, right? The princess giggled so hard she nearly fell off her seat. The elders huffed like broken air recyclers. A massive drone rolled forward, its armor bristling with weapons that looked suspiciously like kitchen appliances. Face the war droid, an elder intoned. John gave the droid a once-over. You know I'm getting serious salad shooter vibes from this guy, he quipped. The princess wiped tears from her eyes, her laughter bright as the stars. John cracked his knuckles and grinned at the droid. Okay, metalhead, let's dance. John's grin held steady, even as the war droid's laser cannon sprouted like weeds in a radioactive garden. The mechanical beast whirred, clicking and buzzing in a language only its mother, probably a malfunctioning factory assembly line, could love. Combat mode activated, it intoned, its voice a metallic growl. John waved at it like he was greeting a neighbor's slightly homicidal dog. Nice to meet you too. I'm John. This is my protein bar. I'd offer you a bite, but you might choke on the flavor. The droid paused as if computing the odds of a protein bar being classified as a weapon. The princess watched from behind her force field, eyes wide, half terrified and half amused. Her laugh, still fragile but gaining strength, escaped before she could stop it. John winked at her. Don't worry, princess. I've been through worse than this. I once got cornered by a vendor on Glarv Station who tried to sell me a singing potato. The droid lunged, servos screaming. John ducked, narrowly missing a laser bolt that sizzled through the air like a grumpy comet. He rolled to his feet, hands on his hips. Hey, easy. I just got this jumpsuit cleaned. Those plasma burns are tough to get out in a space laundromat. The elders shifted in their exosuits, mechanical sighs filling the chamber like a rusty chorus. One elder leaned forward, voice dripping with skepticism. Your wit will not save you, human. The war droid is designed to defeat the strongest warriors. John gave them a thumbs up. Good to know. I'll make sure to put that on my resume if I survive. The war droid advanced again, arms whirring, a saw blade flickering with neon menace. John sidestepped, his boots skidding on the smooth floor. Okay, that's a bit much, he muttered. I didn't sign up for a kitchen appliance from the future. He lunged at the droid, grabbing a loose wire that dangled from its neck like a broken necklace. Sparks danced like fireworks, and the droid screeched in a language that sounded suspiciously like cursing. John gave it a gentle pat on the shoulder. Don't take it personally, pal. I've short-circuited better machines than you. One time I even convinced a vending unit to give me free soda for a week. He gave the wire a tug, and the droid lurched backward, its saw blade sparking like a dying star. The princess gasped, her laughter bubbling through the chamber, cutting through the tension like a supernova through a nebula. The droid convulsed, let out a mechanical hiccup, and collapsed in a heap of twitching metal. John stood over it, arms crossed, a triumphant grin plastered across his face. I'd like to thank the Academy, he announced, and my mom, who always said I'd amount to something, though she probably didn't mean this. The elders hissed in disbelief, their suits vibrating with a hum of outraged disapproval. One of them finally spoke. He has passed the second trial, it declared, voice a reluctant admission. One more remains. John glanced at the princess, who had tears streaming down her cheeks from laughter. Only one more? You guys are easier than a casino on a Tuesday. The final trial loomed. Appreciation of culture. John's grin faltered, but only for a second. He straightened his jumpsuit, wiped a smudge of droid oil from his cheek, and gave the princess a wink. Hey, princess, you think they'll make me sing an alien folk song or something? She wiped her eyes, still giggling. Maybe they'll ask you to paint a star beast. John groaned dramatically. Great, I can't even draw a straight line. He turned to the elders, arms wide. All right, elders, let's see what you've got. I've fought killer droids, solved puzzle boxes, and survived your protein bar. How much worse can this be? The princess's laughter lit the chamber like a nova. John cracked his knuckles and squared his shoulders as he faced the final trial. The elders arranged themselves in a semicircle like a tribunal of particularly grumpy vending machines, each humming with righteous indignation. Human, one of them droned, you must now demonstrate appreciation of our culture. John blinked. Culture? Like art shows and weird food festivals? The elder's exosuit gave a metallic sigh. Yes, it said, its voice strained. Like art shows and interpretive expression. John shot the princess a helpless look. She grinned, her laughter barely restrained. You got this, she whispered. He muttered, yeah, easy for you to say. Your idea of culture doesn't involve interpretive dance with a killer drone. A servitor skittered forward carrying what looked like a cross between a karaoke machine and a portable reactor core. John eyed it suspiciously. If that thing explodes mid-chorus, I'm holding all of you responsible. The princess covered her mouth to hide a giggle, her eyes shining with mischief. The machine unfolded like an origami puzzle, projecting a holographic canvas that hovered in the air. Your task, the elder intoned, is to create a representation of our sacred star beast. John scratched his head. I'm a scavenger, not Picasso. The elder's voice was as dry as a Martian wasteland. You must try. John took a deep breath and approached the canvas, hands trembling with the weight of cultural expectations. Okay, Star Beast, he muttered, squinting at the controls. He stabbed at a few buttons, and the canvas flared to life with a swirl of colors that looked like a psychedelic smoothie gone wrong. That's vibrant, the princess offered, her voice thick with amusement. John sighed. Yeah, it's modern art. It's supposed to make you think. He poked at the controls again, and the colors shifted into a vaguely star beast-shaped blob with too many eyes and legs in all the wrong places. Nailed it, he declared. The elders exchanged looks that would have made a black hole blush. The princess clapped her hands together, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's unique, she gasped, giggling. John puffed his chest out. Hey, it's my interpretation. Art's subjective, right? The elders' exosuits hummed ominously, but finally one of them gave a reluctant nod. He has completed the trial, it said, voice dripping with disbelief. John whooped, throwing his arms up like he just won a galaxy-wide lottery. The princess flew to his side, nearly knocking him over in her excitement. You did it, she whispered, her voice trembling with laughter and something deeper. John looked at her, really looked at her, and realized he hadn't just passed a trial. He'd found something he didn't know he'd been searching for. Her laughter, her strength and fragility, her brilliance that no armor could hide. You know, he said softly, I came here thinking I'd maybe score a quick payday or get a story to brag about in some grimy bar, but I found something better. She blinked, her eyes wide and shining. What's that? He grinned, his crooked smile the same but different, warmer, steadier. I found you. The elders shifted restlessly, their exosuits creaking in protest. One of them cleared its throat, a sound like a dying star. By the customs of the star-born court, it declared, you have proven your worth. The princess may choose. She stepped forward, her delicate hand finding his, her smile a supernova in the dim chamber. I choose him, she said, her voice firm and unafraid. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of mechanical gas and whirring disbelief, but John only had eyes for her. Guess that makes me the luckiest guy in the galaxy, he said, grinning like a fool. She laughed, the sound sweet and unstoppable. The elders muttered among themselves, but the princess's voice cut through their protests like a photon blade. We'll make our own traditions, she declared. John leaned in, pressing his forehead to hers, their laughter mingling with the hum of 100 suspiciously judgmental exosuits. Our own traditions, he echoed. Together they stepped forward, leaving behind the court's ancient rules and stepping into a future that sparkled brighter than any star.